What's going on, faithfuls? It's your boy Mike, and the crew is here to bring you guys some 49ers news, man. There's a lot going on in the world today, talking about the 49ers world, and we're going to get to all of that, okay? But before we do, I want to thank you guys for stopping by, checking us out here on YouTube. If you've never been here before, we want to thank you. Hit that subscribe button and hit the little bell notification there, so that way every time we go live, you guys will get a notification sent directly to your phone. You will know that you got to stop what you're doing and tune in, because we bring you breaking news, we bring you player interviews, we do roundtable discussions. It's kind of like what we're doing today, but not quite the same thing, all right? This is going to be our first ever pop-up video, okay? It's going to be a video that's going to be turned into a podcast. And the reason we call it pop-up is because we're going to have other NB Niner members popping in randomly just to share their thoughts on the current subject at hand, okay? So for the people who are watching this live, their chat is going to be going, but we cannot and will not be paying attention to it. Don't take it as a slight, but this is, again, being turned into a podcast, so we can't stop to read the random comments, okay? Back to where you can find us. Check out the website, guys, www.nothingbutniners.com. There you're going to be led to all of our different social media pages. You're going to see Twitter and Snapchat. Both of those have the same exact handle. That's NothingButNineERS. You're going to find Facebook, and you're going to find Instagram. Both of those are Nothing But Niners. Check us out there. And for the people who don't watch the videos, for the people who don't like to read, but they prefer to listen to podcasts, we even have something for you. If you go to iTunes, if you go to SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Google Play, anything that has podcasts, type in NB Niners and we'll pop right up there. Okay? So before we get to all the nitty-gritty things, I want to start with Tony. Tony, man, how you doing, man? It's been a long time. Our resident GM is here. What's going on? How you feeling?
What's up, Mike? What's up, Faithful? What's up, Niners gang? What's going on? Football season's here. 1 week into the preseason. Lots to talk about. That's all I got for now, Mike.
All right. Nick, man, what's going on? How you doing over there, buddy?
Faithful worldwide. What's going on? What's up, Dylan? What's up, Anthony? What up, Tony?
All right. And then Anthony, how you doing over there, my man?
What's going on, guys? It's good. Same old business as always. Niners talk. Good to be here, obviously, with Mike, Nick, Tony, and, of course, Dylan.
All right. And Dylan's in here, too. What's going on, man? How you feeling?
I'm good, man. Literally just walked out of work, and I'm ready to get started talking some Niners, man.
All right. So we're going to kill this thing. It's going to be the same order we do this in. All right, guys. So the first subject at hand, the 49ers reported, Kyle Shanahan reported that the Niners are anticipating signing running back Alfred Morris. He played with the Cowboys last year. He has 2 years under his belt working with Shanahan in Washington. And we did a breaking news thing on it already, but I want to get your guys' thoughts on it, okay? So we're going to start with Tony. We're going to work our way back down the list. Tony, Nick, Anthony, Dylan. All right, so I already shared my thoughts on everything during the breaking news. I want to get your guys' opinions on it. Tony, you in particular, I know you predicted this. Break it down for us. How'd you know this was coming, man?
Mike, this far into the training camp, you're 1 week in. Now they go away to their they go to Houston, play interscrimmage games with the Texans, and your top running back is hurt that you paid $7 million a year to. So what do? You can't just go out and sign anybody. Me personally, I was a fan of Morris since the beginning of free agency, but at this point, you got to get somebody that knows this system. He produced well under Shanahan in 2 years. He averaged, according to Kevin Jones on Twitter, he posted this, 2 seasons with Kyle, 1,444 yards, 10 touchdowns, 4.72 per carry average. That was an average for 2 seasons. Do I think he's going to come in and be the number one back and push McKinnon? No, but I like the veteran presence, and I like him better than Mostert, even though Mostert does offer value as special teams. But he fumbled today in practice. He fumbled in the game. He fumbled last year when he had an opportunity. Morris is a short-handed. Even though he's not that good out of the backfield, he's not as fast, but you still need that bigger back, like you said, and other people said in our chat. I like the signing. I'm really looking to see what he can do.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. It seems like it's a good fit. It's a natural fit. Someone goes down, you can't sit around and just hope to get another guy and let them learn the playbook on the fly. You want someone who has some familiarity with it, and so that's what we got in Alfred Morris. Nick, man, I know that you told me that we don't need a bruising type back, but we got one anyway, man. So give me your thoughts on Alfred Morris. Do you think he's going to be beneficial for the team at all this season?
All right. Yes, Morris is a bruise type back. Do I think he'll fit in the system? Obviously. I mean, I was just looking at his stats. So he averaged at least 200 attempts from 2012 to 2015 with Washington, which was with Kyle Shanahan. His lowest amount of yards was 751 yards with an average of 3.7. He averaged 67 yards per game, 8 touchdowns, and he had over 1,000 yards every other year. So 1,074, 1,275, and 1,613. His highest average was 4.8 yards per carry. This obviously is a body move as well. You can't just, like Tony just said, you can't go out and just get somebody that is anybody. You get somebody that knows the system that can quickly jump into this type thing. And I know Tony's a big fan of Alfred Morris. I'm not a huge fan of him. Do I think he can help us with an injury to McKinnon or somebody like that? I think they're all the same type backs. I mean, they all do the same thing. They all catch the ball out of the backfield. They all run hard. They all run between tackles. But I know he filled in well for Dallas last year when Zeke was down. But that's a lot better of an offensive line. So my thoughts on it right now is just I'm not sure what's going to happen because I'm not sure who we're going to cut. I'm not sure who we're going to put on an IR. But overall, I mean, it was something that we needed to do, but it just scares me a little bit more because is McKinnon or Breida's injury that much worse than what we suspected? So are both of them or one of them not going to be in the season as long, or, injury just more significant than we thought? So I'm a little concerned to see what happens with that and as to why we signed somebody, because obviously we have like 5 running backs on the team right now, which we would have been fine for this week in Houston if McKinnon and Breida were both going to be back next week after that for basically the starters role day in preseason week 3. So it's still to be seen. I don't know if it's just a body help with younger guys and to take over that leadership type role as we did with like a Logan Paulson, teach these younger guys and stuff like that. Maybe guys on the bench maybe guys on the team aren't catching on as fast. So maybe that's another reason for the move. But I'm interested to see what happens if he passes a physical.
All right, so Nick, you bring up a couple of good points, and I just want to keep everybody refreshed here. Yeah, Alfred Morris was with the Washington Redskins for about 4 or 5 seasons, but the 2 seasons that he was with Kyle Shanahan and Bobby Turner, 2012 and 2013. And again, his stats for those years averaged out. Okay, so one year he had 1,600 something yards, the next year he had 1,200 something yards. All right, one year he had, I think, 12 touchdowns. The year after that he had like 8. So he averaged 1,444 yards, 10 touchdowns, 4.7 yards a carry. And by the way, if you go through his entire career, these 2 seasons, all 3 of those stats that I just told you are career highs. You can't find any other 2 seasons where he had better back-to-back seasons than when he did with Kyle Shanahan. So here's the thing that everybody's going to throw out to you. They're going to give you those numbers. They're going to talk about what he did last year with the Cowboys. And even last year, he averaged 4.8 yards a carry, and he caught 77.8% of his passes to him. But here's the difference. It was only a handful of passes, all right? And he didn't get a ton of carries with the Cowboys either. Now, is that a good thing that what he did with Shanahan? Absolutely. But here's the reverse side. We got to take a step back and look at it. You guys know the running back's lifespan in the NFL. These things happened 6 and 7 years ago. So you got to keep that in mind, all right? 2012 to now is 6 years ago. So we got to keep that in mind. Anthony, I want to get your thoughts, man. Are you excited about the pickup? Do you care? Do you think it's just a whatever move, or is he going to be serving a purpose for us in the long run? What do you think?
I think I'm in the latter when it comes to this. I'm very excited to have Alfred Morris. I mean, former Pro Bowl back under Shanahan when he was at his best. Obviously, the age thing makes a difference. The situation makes a difference too. And a little hot take here is that if Jet goes down at any point, Alfred Morris might just get more snaps than Matt Breida. That's just case in point. I think Shanahan could trust Alfred Morris a lot more than he could Breida, just because Morris knows the system a lot better than Breida does. Although Breida could spell Morris at some point, I could see them splitting snaps, obviously. A good situation to compare this to, just in case of injury, is the Redskins last year. Rob Kelly got hurt, so Chris Thompson came in, Samaje Perine came in, and then, of course, Chris Thompson breaks his leg, and then Samaje Perine has an ankle injury, and then Rob Kelly comes back, and they were just cycling backs, and, you know, it's not a good thing to see that Jet's hurt already, Breida's hurt already, and again, as far as I know, I don't think Morris has any sort of injury history, so, you know, that's already a good look on him, and again, he's trusted in the Shanahan system, and I think that's something that Kyle really likes and appreciates. Because I don't know, at the moment, who knows if Shanahan really even trusts Jet to be that number one lead back type role. We don't even know if he could be a bell cow at the moment. So it's a huge toss-up. And at the same time, the only part of this I'm not excited about is that we have a bunch of other backs that we should be excited about. And then Morris comes in. Obviously, there's a lot of high hopes for Jet, Breida, Joe Williams, Raheem Mostert. You know, it's already a very crowded backfield as it is, and it just got even more crowded. Do I think Morris has a given spot on the 53? Absolutely not. He's got to prove that he's the same Morris he was 6 years ago, or at least half as good as he was. But otherwise, I would say I'm excited. It's a lot of trust going into this kind of situation because, again, we honestly don't know what we're getting out of any of these backs. Second year Breida, unproven Jet, an older Alfred Morris, a returning Joe Williams, and then there's Mostert. So it's a huge toss-up, but overall, I would say I'm very excited.
Sounds good. And Dylan, I saw you nodding in agreement with everything that Anthony was saying in the beginning. So, man, the floor is yours. Give us your thoughts on the Alfred Morris signing and what you think it means for the team going forward.
I think there's a couple things to remember about this Alfred Morris signing, and a lot of things Nick said I really liked, and I wanted to expound upon those. First, when he said he thinks it was more of a body signing than like a this is your guy signing, I really like that one. And I just wanted to elaborate a little further on that one. You would have seen, if Kyle thought that this was his guy, then he would have brought him in a lot earlier. We've already seen that Kyle has no problem bringing in his own guys. When he started fresh last year, it was a whole crew of his own guys with Brian Hoyer, Pierre Garçon, Logan Paulson, etc. So, I mean, you see he definitely likes to bring in the guys that he's comfortable with. But it's very telling that he didn't bring Alfred Morris in at least the beginning of the season when we were looking for that starter back. You can tell that this is more of a body signing. And I think John Lynch actually plays a huge role in this signing as well, because if you remember, a lot of John Lynch's reasoning for some of his draft picks this year was injuries terrified him last year. Whether it was at the DB position or the offensive line, injuries terrified him when we just didn't have the people to be able to put in there. And I think that this was something where he wanted to, I guess, jump the gun a little bit. He could tell that injuries could be somewhat of a problem in this backfield. And so he just wanted to have a little bit more in there. And Anthony was exactly right. Alfred Morris definitely has nowhere near a guaranteed 53-man roster spot. But at the same time, he's definitely going to be able to bring some of that veteran leadership that I think is actually very much needed at this point. And I've been with Mike all along on this one in the idea that you kind of do need that bruiser back. I know other people disagree with that, but I've definitely felt like that's a need that you need on that team. And I think Alfred Morris, with his history with Kyle Shanahan, and again, like everyone said so far, he is a little older, and the running back lifespan is not that long. I just believe that this was a good signing. I think it's going to give us a good amount of depth. If he makes the roster, then hopefully he can give us some production. If not, then hopefully he gets us through preseason with, I guess, a little less injuries or a little leadership and learning.
All right, so I agree with everything you guys are saying, man. This is going to be a lot of fun to figure out what's going to happen. None of us know, and so we're all just speculating here. But here's some final thoughts on that, and we're going to move on to the next subject. Last year, Dylan talked about all the familiarity that Kyle Shanahan brought in here. from offensive linemen to tight ends, wide receivers with Alden Robinson and Pierre Garçon. But no, he didn't mention Tim Hightower. Tim Hightower was another running back that had a lot of familiarity with Kyle Shanahan's system. And there were a couple of people that were high on him last year, but he didn't make the roster. Despite him being one of the only backs that were on the 49ers roster that knew the playbook, he didn't make the team. So I don't know. I'm just going to drop that pin in there. This could be just another numbers thing, and we might not ever see anything more from Alfred Morris following what he contributes to the team this coming week. With that being said, I was looking through the 90-man roster on the 49ers website right now, and the fourth quarterback is not listed. Jack Hennigan is not on there. Now, Alfred Morris isn't on there either, but Jack was on this list before, and he's not there now. So what we're going to ask you guys is this. In order to sign Alfred Morris, again, assuming he passes this physical, we have to cut somebody. I'm going to save you guys some research. I'm going to let you guys know a couple of things. I just counted all the positions on the team. And these three positions have the most guys. Wide receivers, DBs, and oh crap, what was the other one? Oh, and I'm going to say tight ends. They don't have the highest of tight ends, but if you count DBs, including safeties in every position in that secondary, there are 15 guys. If you count wide receivers, there are 12. Okay, but tight ends currently, and this is not counting the long snapper, there's 6. If you include the long snapper who also plays tight end, there's 7 of them. So I want you guys to give me one name from this list that you guys think we're going to cut. And if you have someone else different, then by all means, you go for it, okay? So I'm going to give this one, you know what? I'm going to give this to Dylan first. I can see him over there racking his brain, so I'm going to stall for you for a little bit. But I'm going to give this to Dylan. I want you guys to try to figure out, if you have a different position, if you know who you think Mr. 90 is that's going to get cut in order to make room for Alfred Morris, then by all means, go for it. But I'm just letting you guys know, again, that we have 7 tight ends, we have 12 wide receivers, and we have 15 guys playing in the secondary right now. So my guess would be someone from one of those 3 position groups. I don't see why the 49ers need 7 tight ends even throughout training camp. So you guys let me know what you think there. All right. So Dylan, the floor is yours. And then right after you're done, we're going to go from Dylan, Anthony, Nick, and then Tony.
I definitely think that tight end is a good speculation. The first person that would come to mind is I hope I don't get this wrong, Cole Wick. I believe he just had a knee injury as well. And honestly, I don't think he was making the roster anyway. I just simply for the lack of, other than hearing his injury, I don't think I've heard his name. And the fact is, with DB, I mentioned earlier that they want that kind of like depth. So at least some of those other guys, Exum, who else are some of the other? There's a bunch of extra guys that probably aren't going much further. But wide receiver, I could see them just trying to keep all those guys there for right now, just to see who can be a playmaker. I definitely don't think that 6th spot is completely sealed in, whether that's the 6th or 5th. I think there's a lot of guys. There's a lot of spots on that wide receiver crew that just aren't filled in yet or completely sealed. But yeah, Cole Wick is probably my guess.
All right, Tim, you're up.
Oh, I'm up? All right. So I'm going to piggyback off what Dylan said. I would say Cole Wick. I think a lot of the positions, even though we're so deep and, we have 15 wide receivers, 12 wide receivers, excuse my language. I think a lot of the cuts are going to come down to the last second. It's going to be someone we probably don't expect. But as for me, I think Greg Maben could get cut. Tyvis Powell could get cut. Exum could get cut. Who knows? I think if they can, they might just slap someone on the IR right away. You never know. But I think an odd one out for the wide receivers also could just be Steven Dunbar. Yeah, he's got the size and he's got the tangibles, but he is playing way behind on the depth chart. And it would be a 1 in a million shot if he even makes the 53, let alone the practice squad even. So Wick, Dunbar, Powell, Exum, along those lines pretty much.
All right, Nick, man, the floor is yours. Who's going to be the cut in order to make room for Alfred Morris?
I'm going to think outside the box here a little bit. And I'm not going to go such a positional player. I'm going to go with Locke. I'm going to go with Locke. And I think that he kind of proved himself in the first game. I know it's only one preseason game, but Pinion ended up coming out there doing more. They know what they get from Pinion, and it wouldn't be much of a loss because you're not going to keep two punters anyway. So to keep competitions going with the DBs and tight ends and stuff like that, I think that's kind of where I'm going with it. I know it's kind of out there and outside the box, but I think that's something that we should look for.
Well done, my man. I love the thinking. All right, Tony, floor is yours, man. Give us a position or a player that you think that could potentially be cut, Mr. 90, in this situation to make room for Alfred Morris.
I was also thinking Wick, but I was thinking Wick being thrown onto the IR because of his knee injury. Hannigan's another guy that just came to mind. You mentioned him that he's off the current roster now when you checked. Another guy, maybe Wilson, the running back. If they're bringing Morris in, that means no one else is stepping up. So they're upgrading that area, that position. Mike, I just want to just touch one thing back what we were just talking about with bringing in Morris. As you know, in Atlanta, he ran a two-back system with Coleman and Freeman. Now his top two backs now in San Francisco are both banged up. So you need to bring that veteran leadership with the experience in this system. That's why I think not guaranteeing a 53, but this guy could turn some heads if it works out, and he could be possibly on the 53 as the third back, as a rotational player. But as far as the guys going, it's either Wick to the IR or maybe Wilson, the running back, will be cut.
By the way, Wilson is not listed on the team's current 90-man roster here either. The only four running backs that are on here right now are Mostert, Breida, Williams, and McKinnon. So good call there, Tony. Nick, you stole my answer, man. I always try to think outside the box, so I'm not going to waste any time on it. I was going to say Jeff Locke gets cut as well, or Locke. I don't know how it's pronounced, so I don't care because I didn't expect him to make the team. No offense to him. But yeah, so good job. I'm not going to dwell on that anymore. All right, so we got that out of the way.
Hang on 1 second, Mike.
Time to reflect. Go ahead.
What running backs did you just say were on the roster according to that?
McKinnon, Williams, Breida, and Mostert.
No McNichols?
McNichols isn't listed here either. Nope.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
All right, so yeah, that's what I'm saying. This thing here is listed really weird. Now I know that these guys, McNichols in particular, was listed on the practice squad, so maybe that's why they didn't bump him up. But I don't have an answer for why the quarterback Hennigan wasn't listed on here. You know, he was someone who was signed following the draft, so I have no idea why the team does what they did with this chart here. Now I'm looking at the depth chart. I'm going to slide over here really quick, and we're going to do this on the fly here. If we look at the depth chart, they actually have McKinnon, Breida, Mostert, Williams, McNichols, and Wilson all listed on here. If I go to the quarterback position, all four are listed here with Garoppolo, Beathard, Mullins, and then Hennigan. So we didn't even see Hennigan in the game. They didn't let him come out at all. So if it's not Locke, it's going to be Hennigan most likely. But I could see them trying to use him throughout the entire preseason to get through everything healthy. All right. So we're going to stop here. Let's talk about preseason a little bit. Nick, you and I, as well as Anthony or Timmy Neutron over there, we already talked about and reflected on the first preseason game. If you guys have any new thoughts, I want you guys to share those. I'm going to give you guys the floor first. We're going to go from Nick to Timmy. If not, I want to get our resident GM, Tony. I want to get his thoughts on preseason game one, and then we'll go to Dylan and give you guys a chance to reflect, and then we're going to move on to what to expect in the upcoming game. So, Nick, floor is yours really quick. Any new thoughts other than what we already discussed on the preseason game that already happened?
No, I mean, I've already said everything that I saw and everything I want to see for upcoming. So I'll get into more once we get into the Houston.
All right. And Anthony, Mr. Timmy Neutron over there, your thoughts?
My new thoughts is that first team was atrocious. That first team was terrible. The last video we did, I had very high expectations for the first team. I know it was one drive, but I had a lot of high expectations for the first team against Dallas, which has a very suspect defense as a whole, and I can't believe they just shut down our first team for the most part. Yeah, Jimmy G had one third down conversion, 2 third down conversions, but then it was a 3 and out afterwards. It's just that's my new thoughts. That first team was very atrocious, and I know it's preseason, and I know this is a huge overreaction, and maybe that's just coming from my high expectations, but I definitely expect a lot more in game 2. That's for sure.
I like it, man. Disappointment in the first team. So that's what I want to talk about. I'm going to, before I give this over to the two guys who have not reflected on the first game, I want to give you guys a little fuel. All right. I don't know if you guys feel a flame burning like I do, but I was pissed off the first team. I was pissed off at the second team even. So I'm going to touch on all that really quick. And then I'm going to let you guys go ahead and give your reflections. We'll go with Tony and then we'll go with Dylan afterwards. Okay. But let me tell you guys what happened. The 49ers came out. We were horrible in the first team. All right. We got the 2 first downs. I'm not even sure, but I think one of those first downs that the first team got might have come from a penalty. I can't quite remember, but I know there were 2 first downs. Okay. Then the second team came out, and it didn't get any better. So yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo throwing the ball high 3 times to probably his shortest wide receiver. Well, one of the shortest wide receivers on the team, and Marquise Goodwin. Now I know that they say they have a rapport and things like that, but I mean, come on. Like, you're throwing the ball to him as if he's 7'2". You can't do that, okay? Then you talk about what happened with C.J. Beathard. He's pegging guys in the helmet. He's throwing the ball at people's feet, which I don't mind if you're getting rid of the ball and you know, you don't want to risk a turnover and all. But what bothered me the most about all this, after we did our show, after we discussed this already, was that people were coming on and they were making excuses for the team. Oh, well, this is our first game back. We haven't played since just January. It's the team's first time together and people should be more lenient. No, stop, time out. This was also Dallas's first time together, and they drove down the field and scored a touchdown. This was also Dallas's first time together, and their defensive line managed to tip balls, it seemed like every other pass attempt. Okay, this was also Dallas's first time together, and they seemed to open up holes for their running backs. Okay, so that's not an excuse. This was the first time the public saw the team play, but they've been practicing. They've been in OTAs. They've been in training camp. So those excuses have to stop. Now, here's what I don't like the most about this. 49er fans have convinced themselves that Jimmy Garoppolo is the savior. And if you guys go back and read the good, the bad, and the ugly that is posted on nothingbutniners.com, one of the bad things is that we won the game. I think the 49ers are so complacent with, we have Jimmy Garoppolo, the defense can take a step back because the offense is going to take a huge step forward. That is bull. That is garbage. There were missed assignments by the linebackers. We just did not look good on the first units. Yes, Reuben Foster had an amazing play covering Tavon Austin down the field in this last game. But guess what? A lot of people look really good covering Tavon Austin last year, and that's why he's no longer with the Rams. All right? So that's no excuse for what happened. All right? So my takeaway from this is this. 49er fans feel like everything is okay because we have Garoppolo. It looks like the roster feels like everything is okay because we have Garoppolo, and we're already making excuses. It's the first game back. It's the first game back. It's not acceptable. We as fans should have a higher standard for what we're seeing and what we're being given. I don't want to see my quarterback overthrowing his 5'11" wide receiver 6 feet in the air. It just doesn't make any sense. All right, you're stringing them out across the middle. I don't want to see the backup, who was supposedly vastly improved based off of what the beat writers are saying, can't connect with anybody for 2 drives. He couldn't connect with anybody. That's not acceptable, and we shouldn't make excuses. Now, here's the flip. Had the 49ers march down the field and look really good on that first team offense, we would have been, oh, we're going to the Super Bowl. Did you see how good Jimmy looked? This team is ready. They're picking up where they left off. There would have been all this confetti flying already. But because we look bad, oh, it was their first time back together. No, we need you guys to have the same energy. If you're going to be excited about the positive, we want you to be angry about the bad. I'm saying I'm speaking for myself. I want to see the same energy. If you expect good, and you're going to be excited, you're going to celebrate the good, then I want you to be angry and upset about the bad. So that's my takeaway. That's what I wanted to add to everything. Tony, the floor is yours, bud. You're the resident GM. I want you to break down what you saw from this roster. You can go offense, defense, special teams. The floor is yours, my man. Tell us how you felt about the week 1, or the first game, I should say, of the preseason against the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm kind of 50-50 on it, Mike. my thing is like watching this offense the last 5 games of last year and what you saw this first preseason game, totally different, totally basic, like totally elementary. Lining up in the I formation, doing a bootleg, dumping it off to the fullback. It was basic as basic can be. Is it an excuse? No. Should they have moved the ball a little bit better, a little bit crisper, better timing on the routes? Yes. The big test will be this week, during the week, in the inter squad scrimmages. That's when of course, we can't see as fans being in where we live, but I'm sure Kyle is going to have that offense humming during this week. Basically, I looked at the first possession for the defense and the first possession for the offense. The first 2 plays of the game, Mitchell got blown off the ball 5 yards down the field. Granted, Dallas has a phenomenal right side of that offensive line between Frederick and Martin, just blowing them 5 yards down the field, back-to-back plays. As you guys talked about previously, Taylor had a great game. The whole thing with the Ward coverage, I'm very 50-50 on it. I don't understand whether he just lost track of the receiver, the sun got into his eyes, but that was very disturbing to see that happen. But allegedly, according to Grant Cohen, he had a very good practice today, knocked down 2 balls, whatever. On the offensive side of the ball, I think we were all concerned with the pass blocking of this unit coming into this season. And believe it or not, in my opinion, I thought they did the first 2 drives did okay. Okay for the first time being on the field together versus another team. I think they did okay. And I'm going to credit Pearson, the right guard. I think he did pretty well working with McGlinchey. They picked up 2 stunts very well for people that have not worked together. The left side, I think Staley and Tomlinson played good. I think Weston Richburg, I'm a big fan of his. I like him. I think he played solid. I think he's going to help this line. But the most important thing overall, you have to gel. This unit has to gel and be on the same page. Not only the offensive line, the receivers, the quarterbacks, the tight ends, the backs. Everybody has to be on the same page with this offense. Just quickly, the first play where McKinnon went for plus 2 yards, the defensive tackle was lined up in the neutral zone. His whole hand and helmet was over the ball, and Pearson still picked him up and blew him 3 yards off the line of scrimmage, which sprung McKinnon free for 2 yards. The second play was 2nd and 7. Jalen Smith was unblocked for the negative 1 yard loss. I don't know who blew that assignment. 3rd and 8, they had a Pearson and McGlinchey had an excellent stump pickup with Lawrence, and I think Crawford was the under tackle in that scheme. But I mean, like you said, overthrowing Goodwin, that's not, you shouldn't be seeing that. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't satisfied with that first drive. They moved the ball. They picked up, I think, 3 first downs. But then they just faltered. They had a 3rd and 6 for the negative 6 yard loss, which that was me watching it today was Selleck, who totally missed the block, and Burbridge was the play side receiver who was supposed to block down on that corner. He totally missed the block. I mean, that's pretty much all I got. But, I mean, overall, they had that first unit. What I want to look for, what I want to see, I don't know if we're going to see it, but what I want to see next Saturday is I want to see them go right down the field and score 7. No, you don't want to talk about that.
I'm only waving you off because we're going to get to what to expect and what we hope to see.
Oh, I'm
against
sorry.
The Texans League. So you're good. You're good. Anything else before we pass it to Dylan?
No, go right ahead.
All right, Dylan, man. The floor is yours, man. Give us a quick rundown, synopsis of what you saw, what you liked, what you didn't like, if there is anything that you liked from this previous game against the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm definitely on a lot of the same vibe as you are, Mike. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little embarrassed and kind of wanted to go and take down my Snapchat story talking about how excited I was to see 49ers football again. Whenever I saw those first defensive and offensive drives, I mean, obviously I was buying the hype up until that moment. I was like, what is going on? And I've just seen so much in social media and people that I've been talking to, and they're like, "Oh, it's just preseason." I hate that. I hate that argument. Obviously, it is just preseason, and I also saw it's just preseason. They don't really care that much yet. Well, why did Dallas have to care more than us on defense and offense? They cared. They came out and played on their first drive. Are we gonna say that Dallas has a better mentality than us? That's what I don't like. I think that it should not have been like that. We should have gone out there, and we have something to prove. Okay, we are on one side, people are like, oh, the 49ers are going to be big. On the other, people are like, nah, they're being hyped up. We should be, of all teams out there, we should be the ones that want to go out there and do something. We should be out there to try to prove these people wrong. But no, we looked like complete garbage. It was awful. It was truly annoying, honestly. I shouldn't have to walk away from that game and just be like, well, somehow we pulled it off, and thank God for Nick Mullins and Richie James. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm becoming a Richie James fan, but at the end of the day, I should not have to say that Richie James and Nick Mullins were my favorite thing from that preseason game. That's what that's my underlying factor. I mean, I could go through and tell you all the bad things, but you guys have already literally hit as much as possible, I think. But it was a very bad game, and we got honestly lucky to win that. And I haven't even bragged to any of the friends I have that are Cowboys fans, just because I don't feel like I have bragging rights after that game.
I hear that, man. My mom was here. My mom is a Cowboys fan. So just a little backstory really quick. I did a Periscope when we played the Cowboys, not this past season, but the season before that. And this is when Blaine Gabbert was our quarterback. I believe the 49ers were up 17-0 or 14-0. All right. And then I get a knock at the door, and I open the door, and my mom is in Cowboy stuff from head to toe. She's got on a hat. She's got on a shirt. She's got a purse on her arm. She's got socks and freaking Cowboys flip-flops. My mom knocks on my door, and she's Cowboysed out. And this is a game that counts. This isn't preseason. And I stop her at the door, and I say, Mom, we're winning right now. We are doing whatever we want to your team. This is with Chip Kelly, guys. I said, if you come through the threshold of my house and the luck changes, I am going to kick you out. Okay? I'm not making this up. She came through, and the 49ers didn't score another point. I tried kicking her out, but she would not leave. Okay? So when this game started, you guys remember that this game started 14-0. Okay? I literally had to start smoking in my living room to make my asthmatic mother leave so the 49ers could get the ball rolling. Okay? That's how committed I am to this team. I put my mother's life at risk. Now, I was just smoking hookah, so it wasn't anything super bad or anything really crazy or anything like that. But that's a true story, okay? I really had to start smoking to get my mother to leave the room so I could watch this game in peace, all right? And a lot of people were saying, oh, well, at least we got out with injuries, but they weren't super serious injuries and all that stuff. Look, every single team plays with injury risk, okay? If you're worried about just the point of preseason is only to get out and survive, that's inaccurate. You don't march out your $1 million lineup, which are your starters, okay? Because most of the starters there are making millions. Most of the starters on most teams in the NFL are making millions. You don't trot those guys out for just a series if you don't care about the game. You are purposely trying to see something, okay? So I was going to go into what do you guys think the preseason is about, but we're already running long. I don't want to do that. I want to move on. So let's transition to game 2, okay? So we're going to do this one in reverse. We're going to go back to Dylan, then we're going to go with Timmy, Nick, and then Tony. All right, so this is what I want to get from you guys. I want you guys to tell me something that we should be looking for from this 49ers team against the Texans. Now, keep in mind, I'm going to give you guys a little backstory here. I'm going to preface this with something, okay? The truth is, during joint practices, the coaches find out 90% of what they want to know during the practices. This is what Tony was alluding to. We're not going to see the real test that the coaches are going to do. We're not going to find out what they really want to see. If we know that, man, Houston's got Clowney, they've got Watt, and there's another guy, Merciless. They have a very good front seven over there, and there's still another guy that I'm forgetting. I can't even remember his name. He plays in place of Watt, and he's a beast. But they have a very good front seven, And so we want to know if the 49ers offensive line can hold up against them. Let me tell you guys a little secret. If those guys are whooping our asses during practice for these 2 days, the Texans aren't likely to run out that same package because they already know we can dominate that offensive line. So what the fans are going to see on Saturday is going to be completely different than what happened during the 2 weeks. So I want us as a group to collectively give the faithful a realistic idea of, one, what you guys expect to be happening during practice, and then two, what we should expect to see during the actual game. All right, so try to differentiate between the two. We're going to do this in reverse. I'm going to give this back to Dylan. So I'm going to kick us off, okay? Since I already talked about that front seven. I expect those guys to be manhandling our offensive line, okay? So the offensive line that was trotted out last week is not going to be the same offensive line that the Texans are playing against. I'm talking first teams only here. I'm only talking first teams, okay? Joshua Garnett is back in the fray. I expect him to be getting some looks at the right guard spot, some snaps over there, okay? Person is going to be rotating in and out, obviously, as needed, okay? But I have not heard anything about Cooper being back on the field and in pads and in the lineup. So Joshua Garnett is back. I expect the team to be working him in a little bit. I expect to see him more in preseason, maybe even than what they were doing during these 2 days of practice, okay? So that's what I'm going to be looking at. I'm going to be looking at the offensive line. I don't expect it to be the same intensity that they're going to experience during the actual week of practice there. But I'm going to be looking at that very hard. I want to see the 5 guys that they send out together as a unit. Don't expect that to be the same for what we saw against the Cowboys. All right, so that's where I'm going to stop. I'm going to pass it over back to Dylan now. The floor is yours. What do you think is going to happen during practice, and what do you expect to see during the game?
A big one of mine is I really liked your O-line one, but in practice, I'm really excited to see how our secondary is going to deal with Will Fuller and DeAndre Hopkins, and that's a big one because those are 2 pretty good wide receivers. Well, one's a pretty good wide receiver, the other's a great wide receiver. So I mean, that's a pretty good setup there, and they definitely didn't get any looks like that against Dallas or anything like that. But I think in practice, I would expect to see a lot of troubles there. Depends on who all's playing and how much. But the secondary is probably going to have a little bit of a struggle. And forgive me, I don't think I quite understood the second half. What are you looking for game?
Yeah, so they're all right. So you just gave a very good example of what do you think the real battle is going to be in practice, right? And then I'm gonna piggyback on top of that. Richard Sherman is returning back to the fray. He might not play in the game on Saturday, but he's going to be practicing out there, and he's going to get out there and get a couple of reps. So now you told us what you expected the battle to be in practice. That's going to be the real battle. What do you expect to see during the games?
Yeah. I mean, again, this is going to depend on whether Richard Sherman's in there or not. If he is, I think a big one is going to be Akello versus that Will Fuller battle. That's tough. I mean, if it is Akello and Jimmy Ward out there, I expect to see even more problems in the game. If Sherman's out there, I think that's another big deal, watching him go against good receivers again and not just having to see him in one-on-ones in our practice.
Quick question for you, and then we're going to move on to Timmy. Who are you more comfortable with playing against Hopkins? Jimmy Ward because he's a little bit faster, or Richard Sherman because he's a little bit more sound technically?
I mean, I think that has to be Richard Sherman. Jimmy Ward isn't good. I don't mean it like that. He's just he's not great. Let's put it that way.
All right, fair enough. All right, Timmy, the floor is yours. All right, we have another pop-up, but we'll get to him at the end of this round. Timmy, the floor is yours. What do you expect to happen during practice, and what do you expect to see during the game on Saturday?
All right, so I've had this one kind of mixed up as Dylan was talking. I was trying to think of how I was going to go about this, but I think at least for the practice, I'm going to expect the battle to be between the running backs. Because at the moment, any depth chart will come out, but we have no idea who's going to be our number one back coming into the second preseason game. Breida and McKinnon are out, yeah. But again, we just brought in Alfred Morris. Like, oh, geez, just make the whole situation worse, you know? I've been seeing some articles regarding Mostert being the number one, but again, anything is up in the air. We're going to see McNichols, assuming he wasn't cut. We're going to see C.J. Wilson, assuming he wasn't cut. We're going to see Joe Williams. Joe Williams could be the number one also. We're going to see Alfred Morris. You know, we're going to see all these guys step into that number one, number two role. And it's going to be huge during these joint practices because I don't even think Shanahan knows who his number one running back is going to be. So at least during the joint practices, that's going to be the big focus because that running back room is getting crazier already, especially with the injuries. And then as for the second question, what I'm looking for in the actual game overall, again, you know, I don't know if the first team is just going to get one drive or maybe two drives or half a quarter or whatever, but 3 drives? Okay. 3 drives. And then outside of that, you know, second and third team. But the main point is I want to see improved quarterback play. Jimmy Garoppolo is now going to have 3 drives to prove to us that he's worthy. I don't even care if he leads us to a field goal on 1 drive. I just want to see improvement compared to the last game. And again, I know it's just 1 drive, but 1 drive can tend to show a lot of good things and bad things. And right now we saw a lot of bad things. Again, Garoppolo is throwing to his receivers like they're 7-2. Garoppolo is missing out or missing high, missing low, you know, and then a couple of gimme catches. But other than that, it wasn't impressive. So I'm looking for him to improve in the second game. And then going to Beathard was really scary. I had way higher expectations for him than I did for Garoppolo. And I think a lot of it, too, is that I think Beathard is honestly scared to be behind our O-line. I mean, he got absolutely crunched when he stepped in for Hoyer last season. And I don't know if he's lost that willingness to really want to step up in the pocket and throw the ball because his release was still bad, his timing was still bad, and he just seems scared. Nick Mullins looked better than Beathard, and I don't care if that was the third team. Right now, I would rather see Mullins in the QB2 spot over Beathard because if Mullins wants the position, he should go for it. He should absolutely go for it because right now Beathard isn't showing me much. But the main gist of it all, I want to see improved quarterback play because we always hear about how this Texans defense is scary and vaunted and all these guys are coming back healthy and all these signings they made, you know. It's all talk. I want to see it on the field. I think the Texans lost their first game in week 1. I'm not too sure. But I'm not saying I want to see our QB shred the Texans defense, whether it's Garoppolo or Beathard or Mullins or who knows about Hennigan. But again, I just want to see improvement because Beathard was scary. And if Mullins looked better than Beathard, then we could have an under-the-radar QB2 roster battle, and we don't even see it. So that's my take.
Good shit there, man. Talk your shit. You gave 2 really good points. I'm gonna pass this to Nick, but Nick, I want you to answer 2 questions for me based off of what Anthony said. Number 1, I want you to give me your top 3 running backs in order. I want you to give me starter, backup, and backup's backup. Okay, now, again, we haven't seen anything. Alfred Morris is in there. We're going to assume he makes the roster. Who do you think trots out with the first team? That's going to be number 1. And number 2 is going to be about the quarterback position, Nick. I want you to tell me if you feel like, and this is going to be a simple yes or no, Mullins has a legitimate shot at overtaking Beathard for the backup quarterback. Break it down, brother.
All right. Let's see here. All right, so running backs. This is probably going to surprise the hell out of some people. We're talking about for week 2 preseason, right? Not overall roster. Okay. Week 2 preseason. The running back that comes out there first is McNichols. I'm going McNichols. Then I'm going Mostert. Then I'm going Alfred Morris. Then Joe Williams. So, all right. McNichols definitely earned more reps last game. A lot of people are not giving him enough credit for how he played. I think he played probably one of the best backs in the entire game. I mean, in the pass game, in the run game, he ran strong, ran between tackles well, has good speed. Joe Williams still has not impressed me. He has still not impressed me. What?
Talk your shit, Nick. Talk your shit, Nick. Let's go, baby. Let's go.
You got issues, Mike. But all right. And then quarterback play, you already know how I felt about that because 2 podcasts ago, I said I wanted to see how CJ Beathard played because he's supposed to be our backup. I wanted to see how he progressed. I talked about it with Anthony and you on the last podcast. He played horrible. I don't care O-line play. I don't care anything. I mean, most of his balls were to people's feet. Balls were thrown over. He was just throwing away balls to no man's land. I had to go back and watch it again. I'm just not and never have been sold on CJ Beathard. So I definitely believe there's a legitimate number 2 spot up for grabs as quarterback right now. Do I want to see more of Nick Mullins? Yes, obviously. I want to see more of Nick Mullins. I mean, we've seen a quarter of play from him, but his poise in the pocket, his ability to run this offense, and his throws were just on the money. So everything was good by Mullins. All right. So that's my take on those 2. What do I expect to see or hear from the media this week? I expect to hear if we sign Alfred Morris. I expect to hear what Alfred Morris is doing good, obviously. Who the backs are that come out, taking first team reps, obviously. Secondly, I want to produce in the run game more than I do in the pass game right now. Because I'm not really worried about our pass game because of the fact that we have, we know receivers can catch the ball. We know that we have Jimmy Garoppolo who can throw the ball and run this offense. But the run game, if none of the run game is working at all during the season, getting that continuity together with these backs of who are playing, because it doesn't matter if Breida or McKinnon are ready for week 1. One of the guys said in the chat room, I think it was Luke, says that it definitely messes up continuity, which it definitely does. So you can't get things. So, yeah, scheme definitely produces passing yards, and that's what Shanahan does. He gets your receivers open, so I'm not worried about that. But if there is no – Shanahan is also big off of play action. If we don't have a run game, there is no play action. It makes us one-dimensional. We definitely need to work on that. The other thing I expect to see and hear about is McGlinchey against J.J. Watt and what the hell's the other big dude's name there?
Clowney.
Yeah, Clowney. Jadeveon Clowney. I want to see how he is up against these guys. The question was asked at Media Day the other day, in a presser asking him, how do you feel about going up against such and such, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, well, it's the NFL. So you strive to make yourself better by going against those guys. But I think that'll give tape on McGlinchey because McGlinchey on the first 2 snaps, I guess first 2 or 3 snaps, he didn't look – he looked good, but he looked still a little confused. And obviously he was thrown into the trenches, so he doesn't really know everything yet. So I cut him a little slack. But I want to see what the coach has seen in him and – making him deserving of that number 1 pick for us. So, all right. So those are the things I expect to see. The things I think we're going to see, right? That was the second question. All right. I think we're going to work on the run game more. I think we're going to definitely try to get that run game going more run block scheme, more of those type things in the Houston game. I don't think we're going to see, I think we'll see more passing on 3rd downs. Obviously, if we need to get the first downs, maybe on first downs, but I think second downs, there's going to be a lot of running. And Kyle Shanahan is usually, I don't want to say predictable, but if we're between 3rd and 5, he's going to throw the ball. He always does. It's going to be to a slot receiver. But like I said, I'm not worried about passing right now. I think the run game is the more important thing that we need to get together right now.
And that runs in sequence with O-line and what running backs are what. So, and the other thing I expect to see is a better pass rush. And it has to be dialed up. It has to be dialed in. These are times where we have to start getting those things kicking. If we're playing 3 series, that means the defense is going to be out there for 3 series. We've got to get something going. So those are 2 things, run game and pass rush. And I expect to see a better run game. And like I said, the running backs that I said out there, I expect that's who I think will come out first. So
awesome breakdown, Nick, man. You got me hyped over there, man. That was really freaking good, man. I like what you said about McNichols getting starting reps, man. All right, so I'm gonna stop. I'm sorry. I'm gonna pull it back in. I'm gonna relax. Tony, floor is yours, my man. You've waited patiently. You are the resident GM here, man. You are the guy who is calling and predicting the shots before they even happen. You immediately called the Alfred Morris signing. You said it right away. And 2 days later, here it is. So the floor is yours. Since you know all this stuff, since you have all this knowledge, this wealth of knowledge concerning the running back position for the 49ers, I want you to do the same exact thing that I asked Nick to do. Tell me your starting lineup, and then tell me what you want to see, man. Also, can Nick Mullins compete for that backup position, man? All right, and then let us know what you were watching for or what you want to hear from practice, and then what you expect to see afterwards. All right, so you got a lot of things there. Break it down for us.
The number one thing, I don't want to see any injuries. That's the number one thing. That's that. Now, with the running back rotation, starter, second, third, for this week 2 preseason, I'm going to go for the game because obviously we're not going to know what the hell's going on with the inter squad practice. I think the team is going to put Joe Williams out first as an opportunity to say, this is your chance. Go get it. Is he going to be successful? I don't know, because from what I'm reading now, he hasn't been with the team for the last 2 days. I know he had a death in his family, but is he going to go back to his ways when he was with Utah, when he disappeared from the team? He left the team for personal issues. You don't know. And by them signing Morris, I don't know if they're 100% in on him now, because they might be questioning him. But the rotation, I think you're going to see Joe Williams come out with the 1s. You're going to see McNichols come out with the 2s, or they might rotate carries with the 1s. I think you might not see Morris in the game. You might see Morris in during the practice week. And you might see Wilson if he doesn't get cut. Mostert, I'm not a big fan of. And I don't understand why everyone keeps saying Mostert. Yes, he's fast. Yes, he does offer special teams, but the guy fumbles. And Bobby Turner's biggest pet peeve is ball security. That was a knock with Joe Williams. Now, this is Joe Williams' final chance to show. Maybe next week he gets another opportunity, but we don't know until Alfred Morris is official. The quarterbacks. You're seeing Nick Mullins and you see Beathard. You see quick release versus a non-quick release. Beathard has a tendency to hold the ball. You saw that last season when he was a starter, and that's what hurts him. That's why he got creamed all year last year behind that offensive line. And in the minute Jimmy Garoppolo comes in with a quick release, you saw what happened. Holding the ball versus quick release. Does Nick Mullins have a shot? I don't know. I'm not going to say yes. I'm not going to say no. But it's going to be an interesting battle going forward. What I want to see going forward? Or should I say what I want to read? I want to read what I keep hearing on podcasts, what I keep reading on CNBC with Matt Mayoko. All you hear out of Robert Saleh is all gas, no brakes. I want to see it. You didn't see it last week. I want to see it. You have to see it. If you're going to throw that motto out there and you're going to talk your shit about all gas, no brakes, let's see it. Nothing against Saleh, but these guys got to get their heads out of their ass and start playing. Okay? You got one more week, and then the 4th preseason game is a joke. That's the back end of the roster who makes it. But definitely, I want to see the pass rush. I'm not worried about the secondary because I think Sherman's going to be okay, and he's going to help that secondary. Last week, you noticed when Jimmy Ward was on the one side, no one even threw the ball to Keller Witherspoon. They went right after Ward. So now you take Ward out, Sherman's going to go there. People might try to test Sherman, but if he stands up and covers well and plays his game, they're going to go to Witherspoon. I have more confidence in Witherspoon, obviously, than Ward. From the defense, I want to see pass rush. Pass rush, pass rush, pass rush, other than Buckner. I want to see it come off the edge. I want to see the backup guys bring it. We signed Marsh to a 3-year extension. We signed Atachu. He didn't play a snap last week. I want to see P to T. P to T had a solid fourth quarter in that game. Made a couple plays behind the scrimmage, had pressure and 2 tackles for a loss, I believe. And on the offensive side of the ball, I'm going to side with Nick with this also. I want to see them come out and run the ball. Run the ball. First down, second down, screw it. Run it on third down. You got to get that line on the same page. Until you get that offensive line on the same page, you're going to struggle. Another thing where I think in the preseason games that are on TV and broadcasted, Kyle Shanahan loves running the screen. He loves the screen game. You didn't see one screen pass versus Dallas. You're not going to see it here. That's why I think he's really holding the reins on this offense. You're going to see it probably versus the Texans in the inter-squad scrimmage. But enough with babbling on about this. The most important thing I want to see in the game, I want to score a touchdown on the first drive, go down and get 7, and I want a 3 and out on the first drive. No penalties. Stop them 3 and out. Put your money where your mouth is. All gas, no brakes. Let's see it. And that's that. Pass rush, offensive line gelling. That's it.
I love it, man. Very, very, very good breakdown. So you reminded me of a couple of things here. I'm surprised that you and Nick want to see the run game. Against that Texans front 7, that defensive front, I want to see how this offensive line can hold up. I don't expect it to be any exotic blitzing and anything. By the way, what was up with the Dallas Cowboys blitzing? Like, it's a freaking scrimmage. Are you serious? Why were they doing shit like that? You know what I mean? But I don't
did it the opening drive.
Yes, like that's crazy, right? Like who does that in preseason football? But whatever. All right, pussy's gonna do what pussies do. I don't want to see that from the Texans. I think that their front 4 are good enough to avoid doing things like that. So I want to see how this offensive line holds up. So I agree with you guys to that extent, but I want to see how they hold up in pass pro. Jimmy Garoppolo is a $137 million man. We have to protect him. So that's what I'm really, really interested in seeing. I do want to see the run game get better. You guys have heard me say over and over how concerned I am about the run game, in particular, McKinnon being the bell cow. He's not here, so I'm not really looking forward to that too much, but I would like to see the offense open up holes. So the offensive line in general, pass pro and the run game is what I'm going to be looking for. But you reminded me of something else with your rant. I'm going to give this to I'm going to say this really quick. The importance of Richard Sherman's first snaps. It doesn't matter if it's in this game or if it's against the Colts or if it's week 1. All right, because we know Richard Sherman's not going to play in the 4th preseason game. So Richard Sherman's first snaps are going to dictate who the Vikings target in week 1. They have 2 really good outside weapons, and I'm sure Kirk Cousins won't mind going to whether it's Stephon Diggs or Adam Thielen. He's not going to care who he's going to, but it's going to dictate who he's targeting in week 1. If Richard Sherman comes out in this game and he looks really, really good, expect the Keller Witherspoon to get a ton of targets his way week 1 when it all counts, okay? So if Richard Sherman comes out and he looks really bad, all right, then we know who's going to go where. So I think Richard Sherman's first set of snaps are going to be imperative to the NFL's real season for the 49ers. It's going to be something that's really, really good. All right, so I'm going to give it to Dylan, but before I do, I know that Anthony has something that he wants to say. So Anthony, go ahead and chime in here, baby. Let me know what you want to say here. Go ahead.
Okay, it's just a quick comment. Just one thing. If Sherman doesn't look anywhere near the way he used to look, or if he just looks average, I think Akello could be our first corner on the depth chart. I think Akello could very well be the number 1 corner.
Okay, so you're talking about number one, but does that mean that Richard Sherman doesn't play, or do you think that Sherman's still going to be out there just on the opposite side? What do you mean by 1 and 2? Because the way I look at it, even if Sherman looks bad, he's going to be on one side of the field and Witherspoon's going to be on the other.
I'd rather see a Keller Witherspoon against DeAndre Hopkins than Sherman. That's my point.
But there's no way in hell Sherman can keep up with Fuller's speed. Am I alone on this? Like, I'm sorry, but Richard Sherman is going to get toasted by Fuller. Dylan, go ahead. I see you shaking your head over there. So come in with the whole Sherman versus Fuller thing, and then what I want you to do, I'm going to let you go ahead and answer the running back question, and also the quarterback question, and what you want to see and what you don't want to see.
All right. First off, yes, I think Fuller would dust Sherman, and that's just from what I've seen in his 1v1s. I mean, Marquise Goodwin did a pretty good job of that. I'm not trying to slight Marquise Goodwin in any way, but those are both fast guys, and I don't think that would bode well for Richard. The next thing, I specifically texted Mike in between this just because I wanted to weigh in on this running back thing, and it had already passed me. But I'm going to be the bad guy, and I'm okay with that. We loved watching and hyping up Jeremy McNichols, but first, there's a reason he was that far in our depth chart. He obviously was not showing all of what we saw in practice. Okay, that's first. Second, there's a reason he was able to play so good. It's because he was playing against the same guys that were that far on the depth chart with him. Now, I'm seriously not trying to hate on McNichols. I loved the play, and I hope he keeps playing like that. And if that's what he wants to do, earn the starting spot. Okay, I'd love it. I love the play. I'm just saying, let's ease the brakes. He was playing a bunch of people that might never see an NFL game field. Okay, that's all I want to say there. Okay, go ahead, Nick. Go ahead.
But to that defense, so was Joe Williams. So pump the brakes.
I haven't even hyped up Joe yet.
I'm just saying everybody that's hyping up Joe Williams was playing against the same guys that Mostert was playing against, the same guys that McNichols was playing against, and McNichols looked better doing it.
Fair enough.
So
now,
I don't know.
I just want to say that all I'm trying to say is we've heard positive things about Joe Williams in practice. That was pretty much the first thing I ever heard about Jeremy McNichols the entire offseason. So that has something to be said there too. One preseason game isn't gonna get you a starting spot, let alone a roster spot. So
no, totally agree there. But we also heard a lot of good things about Brian Hoyer in camp too.
You have a very good point there.
so
after that's all I wanted to do with the bad guy thing. I'm just saying let's calm down on McNichols. I hope that it continues, but I'm not going to get my hopes up quite yet. As far as what I think the running back spot is going to look like, and I know that we just had our little Joe Williams forget him moment, but I think Joe Williams is going to be our number one back next week. That's only because I've heard his name the most in practice. The fact of the matter is, and I'm kind of backtracking here. You earn your spot in practice. If you show up and play a little bit well in the game, I mean, and you can't go back and repeat anything back in practice, then how's Kyle supposed to think that that's not just a fluke? I hope that things work out, but the way I see it, Joe Williams takes spot one, and from there, I honestly think all of it is going to be determined by practice this week. I think that second spot is easily up for grabs by anyone, including Alfred Morris. I could see Morris coming in there getting RB2 reps. I could see McNichols easily coming in there. McNichols has the highest spot for RB2 in my opinion. And Raheem Mostert could come in. Again, those fumbles are very annoying, but that's basically what I have there. I have Joe Williams as number 1. I'd probably go with McNichols as number 2, and the other 2 I don't really have a fair way of. I'd have to sit down and think about it for a little bit longer. But like I said, I think from RB2 on, all of practice is going to determine all that. As far as the quarterback play, to be fair, I just did it with Jeremy McNichols, so I have to do it with Nick Mullins. He wasn't playing that great of a squad, okay? I loved what I saw with Nick Mullins. I thought he played well, regardless of who he was playing against. Do I think he has the spot as QB2 on the final roster? Absolutely, he has that spot, especially if C.J. Beathard keeps coming out there and playing like whatever that was. So there's obviously that opportunity, but again, like I just said, it takes more than one preseason game to earn your spot. So if he continues, then I'd love to have him as our RB2 or our QB2.
Hey, Mike, can I ask everybody a question real quick? I just want a quick yes or no before we jump into this next thing and bring Ali on here. Do you guys think that in that last preseason game, within that 2-minute drive, that we actually started scheming plays in the last 2-minute drive to go, because our offense looked totally different in that last 2-minute drive than it did the entire game? So a simple yes or no. So Tony, what do you think?
Okay. I don't think he schemed it, but I think he opened it up and got more aggressive. Okay. I don't think nothing in that game was schemed. I mean, he might have had a script with 15 plays, just basic plays, like a handoff, zone to the right, zone to the left, a rollout, but a fully game plan, a schemed game plan, no. I think he went down the call sheet and hit some more aggressive stuff to get into that end zone.
Well,
almost
and
like
that's
a 2-minute drill offense. That's it.
Yeah. And that's the question I'm kind of asking, because to me, our offense looked pretty flat the entire game until we really needed it. And then Kyle Shanahan, and we talked about this being aggressive. So not necessarily scheme, but calling different plays to get receivers open compared to what he would have been calling throughout the rest of the game. So it's still a scheme basis, but just those types of plays.
Yeah, but he definitely got a lot more aggressive in that stretch. Definitely. And that just goes to show you he was holding the ball. He was holding the play calls back the whole game. Yeah. He was just playing with him, you know?
Dylan, what's your thoughts?
I think Tony pretty much said everything. I definitely think that he opened it up a bit more, and I definitely think that we haven't even seen close to what Shanahan has prepared. I don't want to start hyping him up anymore, because obviously that's kind of what got us into that disappointing situation. All I'm saying is that offense looked very flat, and that's not something I would have expected from Kyle Shanahan. So I think he's holding a lot back.
All right. Timmy Neutron.
God, I got to fix that. But, yeah, I think that definitely wasn't vanilla Kyle Shanahan. I think he opened up the playbook a lot more. And if he did, and we're assuming he did, Nick Mullins made it look better than Beathard would. Just saying.
And last but not least, we'll ask Mike this, and then Mike can introduce Ali. So, Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, Tony worded it perfectly. I don't think there was any scheme involved, but I do think that he pulled out some plays that he wasn't using before, maybe not planning on losing. You even heard Kyle go to the mic, and they asked, why'd you go for 2 and things like that? He said, I don't want to lose. You heard about the aggressiveness, and that's basically what it was. I didn't want to lose the game. So, yeah, we hung around. We were close. The first and second team didn't really do a whole lot, but the backups, by the way, that's a testament to the depth. That's the one thing I wanted to say after everybody was done speaking. It's a testament to the depth. For the Niners to come back being down like that in the second half, well, not even the second half, because we were only down 1 score or 2 scores, and it was 17-0. Then it was it was 14-0. And then we scored a touchdown. And then we came back out. We got a field goal. And then it was like a little trickle down effect there. But it's a testament to the depth on this roster. And Kyle Shanahan just said he got aggressive. He got competitive is the word I want to use, not aggressive, not scheme. He had no idea who those guys were out there and what their strengths and weaknesses were and all that. He's good, but he's not quite that good. So he definitely got competitive. That's the word I want to use, but not scheme. But he definitely opened up the bag of tricks a little bit to secure it. I mean, look at how wide open Dwelly was twice. One of them bounced off of his chest and went into the arms of another wide receiver. And then the following play, you see Dwelly taking the slant route across the middle, wide open. You hadn't seen anybody get that kind of separation the entire game. So you can tell Kyle really pulled out some really good plays. All right, so with no further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring in Ali, man. What's going on with you, man? You've been over there quiet for like 20 minutes, just killing the battery on whatever device you're on right now. How you holding?
I'm doing good, man. How are you guys doing?
We're all good, man. We've been talking Niners all night, man. We reflected on the preseason game and things like that. We're talking about what we expect to see next and everything. But I mean, let's start with you with the breaking news, man. Alfred Morris is supposed to be signing pending his physical. Let's assume he passes his physical. I want to get your opinion on this. Who's getting cut? Who is going to be the odd man out for this 49ers team?
I think one of those fullbacks or one of those trash offensive linemen we have. So,
all right. So, somebody out there, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but we only have 2 fullbacks on the roster, and one of them is the starter, right? Isn't Juice one, and then there's just a second one? So if they cut a fullback,
we have 3, I think. We have we have Dwelly, Juice, and there's this other guy. He caught the 2-point conversion.
Saxon.
I think so. Yeah.
So I thought Saxon and Dwelly were tight ends. If they're fullbacks, or maybe they're both, then I apologize. But I thought I saw them listed on the team site as tight ends, but they could be dual positions. You know, I don't know. Nick?
Malcolm Johnson is the fullback.
Yeah, it's Malcolm Johnson and Kyle Juszczyk.
But I talked about this before Ali popped on, was that we have an abundance of tight ends. And so I thought that one of the tight ends were going to be cut. So Ali and I are thinking on the same page there. So I get where you're going with this, man. So look,
yeah,
the panel's winding down. I know you like asking questions that get us all thinking. So the floor is yours. If you have any thoughts on the preseason game that happened, the preseason game coming up, you get to ask a closing question, and we're all going to go ahead and knock this thing out, man.
I think you guys have broken down everything from the preseason game to the upcoming preseason game to the joint practices. You guys have broken that down harder than any other site out there, man. You guys have deconstructed that thing from every way, man. So there's nothing more that I can add that will add anything there. So I'm just gonna do a quick season outlook here. If this is a kind of a leave us on a hype kind of question. If Jimmy Garoppolo is the number 1 QB in the NFL this season, and that means passing yards, TDs, if he's the number 1 QB in the NFL this season, how far does this team go?
So I don't want to go first here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for volunteers out there. We're going to, if anybody, Anthony, you're still there. Nick, Tony, either one of you guys want to go first? A show of hands? No? Nobody. Nick? All right, Nick. Jimmy Garoppolo leads the league in rushing, passing yards and touchdown passes. How far can this team go?
All right, so your quarterback's only going to be as good as your receivers and your running backs, obviously. It's going to take a lot for Jimmy Garoppolo to lead the league in those stats. But if he does, I'm not going to say Super Bowl, but I'm going to say deeper in the playoffs than I would expect. It wouldn't be a wild card pick. Like we wouldn't be a wild card team if we make the playoffs. I think we would be if he leads the league like that. And I mean, it depends on also what happens in a division. But if he's the leader at the end, I think we win the West, and it puts us in the playoffs. But I still think that it is not a Super Bowl year this year. I still think I still think we're at least a year away from that. So deep, I'll just say deeper into playoffs than expected.
Great answer there. Great answer there. All right. Anthony or Anthony, either one of you guys want to go next? Show of hands. Anybody? All right. Go ahead, Tony. Floor is yours, baby. A resident GM is going to go ahead and give his closing remarks. And if Jimmy Garoppolo is the league leader in passing yards and touchdowns, what does that mean for the outcome of the team?
I have to agree with Nick. They go deeper into the playoffs. I don't think they're a Super Bowl team yet. I think we are a pass rusher away from that. Because I mean, listen, as much as you say he could lead the league in everything, and that means our offensive line is doing good, our backs are doing good, like Nick said, our receivers are doing good. But if you can't stop another team, you could try to outscore them, but you need some type of defense. You need the rush to get to the opposing quarterback. I say deeper into the playoffs.
All right, so Anthony's not here yet. Looks like I'm going to be wrapping this thing up here. Maybe if he gets back in time, then we'll give him the floor. But I'm going to take a little bit of a step back. I know you guys talking playoffs and all that stuff, but let me tell you, I've seen Drew Brees lead the league in passing and touchdowns, and it's not always a good thing. That means that the defense can't stop opponents from scoring, and that means the run game isn't all that. And based off of what we saw last week, that's highly possible. So I think that if Jimmy Garoppolo leads the league in passing yards and touchdowns, that spells trouble for the 49ers. I could see us ending the season 8-8, Jimmy Garoppolo with 5,000 yards and 32 touchdowns, but the run game never shows up. I've told you guys from the beginning that I do not trust McKinnon as an RB1. I told you guys that I think we have too many of the same exact guys at the running back position on the team. So if the run game can't get going, and we have to rely on Jimmy Garoppolo, he's probably taking a beating. He's being forced to throw because if the team is well balanced, if the team is putting up a lot of points and yards, then why are we throwing so much? Why are we leading the league in those things? And so I'm going to say 8-8, and we miss the playoffs, even if Jimmy Garoppolo. Look, this is Matt Stafford all over again. Matt Stafford and Drew Brees are the prime examples of two guys who can throw the shit out the ball but don't have a defense or a supporting run game. So if that's the case, that's how I have us going. So, Anthony, the floor is yours. Ali's question was, if Jimmy Garoppolo leads the league in passing yards and touchdowns, what does that mean for the team? How do you see the 49ers finishing the season? I said 8-8. Nick and Tony said a deep playoff run. They didn't say Super Bowl, but they did say a deep playoff run. Floor is yours, and then it goes back to Ali to give us his answer.
I think it means we're either a 10-6 team and we're looking on the edge of a wild card berth because the NFC is incredibly stacked, or we're looking at it 7-9, 8-8, and Jimmy Garoppolo just looks really good in garbage time. That's how boom or bust this Niners team is. So it'd be very nice if he leads the league in passing touchdowns and passing yards, and assuming he does, it could very well mean that this team is playoff caliber. Are they Super Bowl, NFC championship playoff caliber? I don't know. I don't think so. This team still has a lot of unproven spots and a lot of holes to fill. But to give a general answer as to if they are a playoff team, I would say borderline yes. And because of Jimmy Garoppolo's success, especially if he's leading in those two major categories, then that could very well mean that the Niners are definitely on the right path, especially for this season.
Ali, we need your answer, man. So you asked the question. You tell us what you were leading us with, man. What's your answer?
If Jimmy's leading the league in both those categories, I think that we are probably 13-3 and probably winning the NFC with the bye. And I don't know if we win that divisional game. It's always tough to say. It comes down to a few breaks, but a deep playoff run and Super Bowl run is not out of the question. That means that Jimmy Garoppolo has lived up to the contract that we're paying him. That means Jimmy Garoppolo has taken the next step past the 6 games that everyone is saying that he hasn't shown enough. That means that he's taken the next step to proving everyone that he is the real deal, that he is a top 5 quarterback in this league. That means that Kyle Shanahan is one of the greatest, one of the best play callers in the league, and he knows how to fuck with other teams' defenses. Yeah, I think that means nothing but good things because the pieces are there on defense where I think that we are not going to be horrible as long as we stay healthy. I think the pieces are there on defense where we won't be horrible and that we should be able to at least be functional on defense. If countering to what you said, Mike, that our defense is putting us in a lot of trouble. I think that we should be at least functional in that spot. So, yeah.
I'm just trying to, you guys know me. I'm always devil's advocate. I'm always trying to be objective, man. I've seen Drew Brees lead the league in every important statistical category, and his defense just can't get it together. What if we don't have anybody good enough to play opposite of Ahkello Witherspoon? What if Jimmy Ward gets hurt and Richard Sherman doesn't bounce back the way we expect him to? What if this defensive line doesn't get it together and put pressure on quarterbacks? What if every single game is a shootout? We can put up a ton of yards. We can score a ton of points. Doesn't mean we're going to get those W's, guys. Just like we lost a lot of games by 3 or less points, it can happen again. But I hope that you guys are right. I hope I am the wrong one. I want to thank the entire panel for joining me. The resident GM, Tony, my partner over there, Nick, Anthony, thank you for joining me. Ali, I know you came in late. Thank you for joining me. And Dylan, even though you couldn't finish the show with us, I appreciate you getting out of work and taking your time and joining us, man. This was a very successful pop-up interview. I'm seeing a lot of feedback in the chat and everything. You guys are all awesome for rocking out with us. I want to thank you guys sincerely from the bottom of my heart. You guys check out the website, www.nothingbutniners.com. Nick, I know you had a shout out you want to give, and then I'll sign us out, man. Go ahead and give your shout out there.
Yeah, definitely, guys. For anybody that's attending any games at Levi Stadium this year, you have to go to NinerEmpire.com. So that's NinerEmpire.com. And if you want to tailgate, Chuck McCarver, I know you guys, if you follow him on YouTube or Twitter, he's also a Niner Empire chapter over there. But you can go to NinerEmpire.com. You can pay $20 for all you can eat, all you can drink, in Blue Lot 1 tailgating experience. Great time. They always have players show up that give autographs. Last year, Charles Haley was there. But $20, you can't beat it. All you can eat, all you can drink. Just go to NinerEmpire.com. Go to the store, select tailgating, and then go down the list. You'll see Niner Empire tailgating experience, and you can select what game and purchase your wristband right there. It's that easy, guys. So make sure you go to NinerEmpire.com. Check that out over there. Get your tailgating experience for any game day that you're going to be attending. And I will be at the home opener in Blue Lot 1 supporting Chuck McCarver over there for $20. All you can eat, all you can drink. Come over there, have a party with us, man. Meet up with us. We're going to have a great-ass time. So, Mike, take it away.
I can't wait, man. Blue Lot 1 was lit last year. The Green Lot was lit, man. Faithful really know how to do it for the tailgating and pregame stuff, man. I love you guys. I can't wait to get out there, man. But I'm not going to prolong this. This has been a nice, long podcast. Again, thank everybody for joining me. Thank you for the people who are watching and all the comments and the positive feedback there in the chat. So listen, we're out of here, guys. Prepare for glory, anticipate pain, but always remain faithful, guys. We're out of here. Peace.